Here's today's blank. Started with this, and I've put a hole in it, put my tubes in it, flattened it out, and I've started turning it. And I've not stopped it yet, so we're gonna go ahead and stop it now. And I still got some flat spots on it, but as you can see, it's gonna be really highly visible. It's gonna have a lot of shapes in it, and it is a purple with mild tones of, I guess, blue. It's mostly just purple with the white lines going through it, but looking at it through the camera, it does look blue there. It's not. It is purple. And it's going to be for a friend. Okay, so I've just done turning it, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. And it's looking really sharp. So what I do now is I loosen up the bracket and get the headstock out of the tool rest out of the way. And the next thing I'll do is I'll run through this thing with my sandpaper, which is here. Got a stack of sandpaper, and I'll dip it in water. These are the sandpaper strengths that I'll go through. I'll start with the rust, and I'll run all the way down through the gray, which is 12,000 grit. And when I'm done with that, I take and I put on a little bit of this ultra shine and rub it in really good. And then I'll use a paper towel and rub that off basically while it's spinning, and it'll be a super fine finish when I'm done with those steps. But even so, I'm not going to be done, because what I'll do is I'll take this mandrel off and I'll put on this buffing wheel and I'll buff out any small imperfections, and this thing's really going to shine when I'm done with it. And so let me get started on that, and I'll bring you back in when I get a little bit closer. Hey guys, what I just did is I went ahead and went through those sandpaper levels, and I'm at the pin now, turning it off for the first time, and you can see the shine that this pin has on it. For those interested, acrylic is oftentimes very translucent in certain areas, and I wasn't sure how this specific pin was going to be as far as translucent goes. So the brass tube that is inside of this acrylic is actually painted white on the outside, so that it helps these colors pop. Now, what I'm doing is I'm kind of inspecting this thing right now to see how well the sandpaper did, and I have a couple of little blemishes on this one right here that what I'm going to do is going to be real easy. I'm just going to go right back through that same stack again, and it will take off enough acrylic that these blemishes are going to go away. And then I'll have a very nice pen that I'm comfortable giving away. If I leave those blemishes on there, it's one of those kind of things where I might not rest easy tonight. So I'm going to run back through the sandpaper, and then the next time you'll see me is after I've put the Easy Shine on it. I just got done buffing out the green one, and here's two purple ones. They're the ones I turned earlier today that will probably be, when I press them together, this video will probably be used in the green video also. In any case, next thing I'm going to be doing is trying to figure out what color end piece works the best with these tubes. I've got gunmetal gray. Looks like I'm out of gold plated. I have brushed silver, which I think is probably a good choice for that. I have copper, which I think is probably too loud to go with that. I've got brushed gold, which it might work. I don't know. To look at the silver one again. And then I have the pin kit for the seam ripper that I will be pressing into this green shaft. Okay, so I've picked out the arrangement for the direction that I will be using the blanks in. Let me see if I can get this a little bit brighter. So what I first do is I come up with the distance here to estimate it. I hold up the front part of the pin onto the blank, and then it fits inside the ram. Draw this back, scoot this over some, and then just simply ram the two pieces together. Nice tight fit there. So now I've got the front part of the pin put together, and the next thing to do is I slide the ram over about an inch to put the mechanism in there that actually extends the pin in and out. As I've said in my other videos, I don't take it all the way to the end of. There's a spot right here that shows you where you're supposed to run it to, but I stop mine short just in case I make the pin blank too short. I don't want to have the pin hanging out when it's drawn all the way back. So in this case, I can tell by looking at it, with this is out and this is in, I need to go further, not necessarily all the way to the end, but I do need to go further. So I'm going to take it to there. Let's see what happens. Pin's drawn back, pin's all the way out. Now that's still not quite far enough for a comfortable write. So when it's drawn back, what I can do is I can look in and gauge the distance between the tip of the pin and the end of the pin. And then, using that gauge in my mind, I ram it together not to exceed that distance. That's probably a comfortable writing distance. So I test it. I do go over to a piece of paper and I test to make sure I'm not going to be dragging. And that is a comfortable writing distance. Alright, now the only thing left with this is, well, there's a couple things left. What we want to do now is we want to readjust the ram distance. Lock it down. And then we need to put the pin clip on. Typically, what I do is I look for a blemish where I want to cover. Well, I did this one so well, I can't find a blemish to cover. So, the next thing I do is I look and find out what I don't want to cover. Now right here, I've just got a couple of bands going across. This has a whole lot of different designs on it, so I really don't want to cover that up. So I'm going to make sure that the pin clip goes on the back side to cover just where those two lines are going across. And then the whole thing that secures it together is the pin cap. So what I'll do is I'll sit it in here. I'll put the pin cap against the plastic piece so that it doesn't get scratched. I'll ram it together just a little bit, and then I come back and I want to make sure that this is where I need it to be. In this case, I'm centering it on the back between these points here and this point here, kind of in the middle. Now, at this point, the pin is almost 100% done. What you do is you take the band, put the band over the shaft, you run it on, And then you simply take the pin cap, push it together, and the pin's done. That easy.